App Planning for Success. Brought to you by Software Accelerator Playbook. On Instagram at S.A.Playbook. Today on the podcast, we are talking all about the cost of bad software planning. So the idea here is that if you don't plan well, even though the beginning might feel like you're moving a little bit faster, the end of the project is really not as great. It's almost like you get a turbo boost at the beginning because you're hopping straight into development. You're so excited you're hopping into development, but then because it's not planned out properly, then instead of the later stages when you could just, move forward and zoom through because you know exactly what you're doing, you get stuck, you have to chase your tail, you have to go around in circles and fix stuff that ultimately was just designed in the wrong way the first time. If you want to think about it in terms of building a house, that the plan or the blueprint is almost like the base foundational layer of the house. You make sure that the core, the stuff that's like touching the ground and the shape and everything is just pre-planned out, so that by the time you get up to the stage of choosing the window size and the wall color, that everything is where it should be. And certainly the idea of doing it once makes a ton of sense when you're building something expensive like a house. You want to make sure that you don't have to build something again, so you make sure before you step in that you actually get the right thing built. But what happens more often than not is that people don't realize how complicated app development can be and just how many questions they need to answer before they actually start paying somebody. And then that's when the miscommunication starts. That's when people drop some money and they go, hey, I spent thousands of dollars and I got this broken piece of software that's not even flowing right and it's really bad usability, and then as a result the entire amount of money is now wasted because you built the wrong thing. It's almost be like if you built a house upside down and then by the time you're finished with it you realize, oh my goodness, this thing is just wrong. Well, what do? Well, you kind of have to start over. And that's really, really frustrating if it's hard enough to have the vision, connect with the developer, get the thing built. It's hard enough to get through that stage. So if then after that, you realize, oh my goodness, I spent my money wrong and I went too fast into development, which means I got the wrong thing built, which means now I'm stuck with this thing that doesn't work. That's a really, really bad feeling, and that's really frustrating, and will take a lot of wind out of your sails. That not only, so now the second time you're looking at it where you're realizing, man, what do I do now? Do I just bail on it and just forget it, forget it ever existed, in which case, that's really sad that your vision just took a nosedive and now you're planning on potentially bailing on your vision. Or the second potential there is that you move forward and you do build it again, this time building it more correctly. But what a waste of money that you could have used that money instead to get people into your app or build an extra feature or whatever it is that would actually propel your app forward. So this idea of waste is something that I hear about time and time and time again, and I see it first and foremost. And even when you're trying to be completely detailed and 100% focused on this is exactly what needs to be built, there's still stuff that can come up. So it's not like there's a completely perfect way to do it, but there's ways to really make sure that you don't have huge issues and you end up actually building the wrong thing. So to give you an example, I got a proposal a few weeks ago from somebody who said, like, hey, we kind of have it all planned out what we need to build. We're wondering what the quote for this would be, et cetera, et cetera. So I took a look at the proposal, which is basically, 2 pages of bullet points, kind of laying out the different pages and the different, different functionality and everything. And in talking to them, basically explaining, it's going to be really hard to give you a quote because, yes, I can see that you've, been pretty thorough in kind of laying out what you want, but, every time you open up a new area, it's almost like it's like opening up a new box, and you might find something inside that you didn't realize was there, which then completely changes the scope of the entire project. And so what I said is, hey, let's go through this planning sequence first. And after we go through the planning sequence, we'll have everything super clear so that you're actually building the right thing. And so sure enough, once we got into it, and I think it was about the third meeting where we discovered a unique new way of doing something that, when they had first sent the plan over, they had basically said, like, hey, we want the default thing. We just want, the way that everybody else has done this thing, we just want this same sort of thing. And so talking through that with them, we came up with a plan that would allow them to have a more unique option here that would, set their project apart, that would, give users a better experience, that would help users find people more efficiently, that would save time, that would basically just be like a definite improvement to the project. And by going down that road, we discovered a whole new functionality that they didn't even know that they wanted before they started. By talking through it and by getting super particular about, what's the actual user experience going to be like, we discovered a new feature that they are now saying is, really important, and we're so glad that we discovered this, but that they didn't ask for initially. And so if they would have just gone to a developer and just gotten the thing built, even though they would have, if they would have found a good developer and they would have gotten the thing built correctly, they would have, succeeded through that, but they would have failed in not realizing that there was a much better way to set their business apart, which then completely can change the complete trajectory of a business. If you're building something like everybody else and yours isn't going to stand out or be unique, that's going to hurt the entirety of the business. Even if the software is built right, that by not having, a unique or different, view at how your software approaches something, and if you're just basically competing with everybody else who's doing the same thing, then your whole business is in trouble, and you may not even know it, because your idea and your plan for, hey, this is what we're going to build, even if that was crystal clear, and even if the developers, built the right thing, you still would be missing that unique functionality. So it's not just a matter of, getting clear with what you want and just distilling things down into creating a relational database and how figuring out the notification structure and figuring out the admin emails and what needs to go out and the dashboard that'll show you how people are consuming your product, but also this whole layer of how can this project be different than another project to stand out and to then really help the business grow, because you're actually building something more unique. That kind of stuff can only show up in planning. And if you do it before you start paying for development, then you actually build the right thing. So keep in mind, as you're moving forward, even if you've got the vision planned out, even if you've got bullet point list of your plan and exactly what you're trying to build, that by working with somebody on the plan and really talking through what the user experience is going to be before you get into development, then that's the best shot you have in order to make the right thing. That you set the foundation for the software and you set the vision for the software. You potentially find new things here that you may not have found before, and then you end up making a different product, or you make a tweak or a pivot to the product that then helps you further down the line. So if this is you, if you need help with this kind of thing, please DM me on Instagram at S.A.Playbook, or go to S.A.Playbook.com and book a strategy session, book a discovery session, where we'll go through and chat about where you're at and see if I can help you out. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you later.